Hello, everybody. I always start with
Hello.
hello, everybody. I don't know if anybody's ever saying hi back. Whatever.
Maybe two, three others.
That hurts. We are the half better NPCs. This was very last minute. There was some big news that happened last week in the gaming space, and me and Amit wanted to talk about it. And I'm sure the others have some insight on this, but they couldn't be here today. So, Amit, I'm going to let you start with your thoughts on this whole Microsoft ordeal and what's going on in the gaming space.
Okay, so I was thinking about this like just today earlier,
Mhm.
and as a person who follows Jerry Reinsdorf teams,
Oh boy, Chicago Bulls,
unfortunately,
White Sox for
this just
any viewers.
this just to me feels like Xbox is, and now, being under Microsoft, that like Jerry Reinsdorf is running Xbox now. That's how it feels. It's
This
like
is bad.
there's so many easy things you can do, but you just choose the dumbest things to do,
Yep.
and it's just head scratcher after head scratcher after head scratcher.
Yeah.
And think about it. The White Sox and the Bulls have no results. Xbox right now, no results. I don't know if there's a better analogy than saying Xbox is is like a White Sox or a Bulls team.
They're complacent with mediocrity. Is that like
Yeah,
kind of what you're
they
alluding
have
to?
money coming in, right?
Yeah.
They have they're complacent where they are. Like
Yeah.
the Bulls will always sell out, but what's the product that they're selling? Not very good,
Yeah. Uh,
you know?
I and I don't want people to think that this is like a bash Xbox because obviously PlayStation and Sony are not by any means innocent with all the things that are going on. Um, I was telling Rob this the other day when we were together. Xbox does the thing where people hate it immediately and talk bad about it. In 2 years or 3 years, maybe 5 years later, Sony will do the same thing with something on PlayStation, and it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I think that's where Xbox gets the bad rep when truthfully they've done so much to be that like iconic person. I'm going to use person, even though it's not one singular person in the gaming space that they've become. But I think, like you just said, they've done nothing but shoot themselves in the foot over and over. It's like that definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting good results, better results. And if they're just trying to be good, then by all means, they're doing a great job being good. I don't, I
Yeah,
can't, I'm not going to say Xbox has been horrible the last two gens, but I'm not going to say they've been at their peak because peak was 360
yeah, for sure.
and
I
we
think
haven't seen anything like that. I don't know if it was because the original Xbox was like kind of like on the fence. People weren't sure if they loved it, hated it. The only people that loved it were the people that owned it. Everybody was on PS2. Some people had both. And then 360 came out and it was the greatest thing. Like that's not up for a debate, no matter what
no,
anybody
no, no.
says.
Having it set the bar for
Right.
what
For
online
what the gaming
multiplayer,
space, everything.
right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it set the bar for what
And
you want it to be.
no matter what PS fanboys, whoever, Xbox fanboys, 360 was their peak. And I think 99.9% of people will agree with that. What they've done with buying everything and then promising everything to getting a needle in a haystack with Hi-Fi Rush, dropping it. I don't know what direction they're trying to do. I get Activision, that whole thing. Your focus is COD, your focus is Bethesda, whatever. But to drop studios now, I get it. Layoffs happen in every industry.
That's
But
across the
why
board.
are
Yeah,
you getting rid of your like number one like heaviest game that was just nobody expected to be one of the game of the year contenders, period. It
right.
could have easily won game of the year, and then you're just like, oh yeah, we're done with them.
Yeah, and not just that with Tango, but Phil has talked about we need to increase our presence in Japan.
Hmm. A
And
lot of
then
people have been
they
hard on him on that. Yeah,
close the
the
only
only Japanese studio.
Japanese studio they have, right? And there's words that there's or the rumors are that they were about to pitch Hi-Fi Rush 2. They were going to ask for more staff so they can do that on a better scale.
Because it
Maybe
was
make
such a
it come out
small team that
faster.
made Hi-Fi Rush, right?
Uh, yeah, I mean it still took like 5 years to make or
Right,
whatever, but they were working on like Ghostwire Tokyo and stuff.
right.
So they were making these games alongside each other, but it's a smaller team on this than Ghostwire Tokyo, but they were about to pitch Hi-Fi Rush 2, and it's just like, hey, we're gonna make a sequel to your best game that you just released in the last like 2 years. And then they're like, no, we're gonna close it.
We're good. Yeah, we're good.
We're good. And then I feel bad too because the people at Arcane Austin didn't I mean, there's been all the stories came out too, right? They
Right.
didn't want to make Redfall. That was
That was
basically
110%. Yeah,
their
they
their
were
higher
forced.
ups. Yeah,
Yeah,
they were forced to make Redfall.
I was reading about that.
And then no one wanted to make it, but they're like, all right, we're making it, right? And then the game comes out and it's
It's
terrible.
just horrible.
And
Yeah,
then they want to start pitching what they do best, another immersive sim, right? They want to
right.
make maybe Prey 2. They maybe want to make
One of the
Dishonored
best games
3,
that
right?
Dishonored, one of the
They
best games out there.
they want to go back to their roots and but they just came out with the game. So that was another one on the chopping block. So I feel bad for what's going to happen with Ninja Theory whenever Hellblade 2 comes out.
Everybody's saying it's no matter what happens with Hellblade, it's the studio's closing. I
Right. It
think
doesn't
that's
make
the
it
consensus. I hope it's not.
that
Um, but that
when they
report of they're doing more layoffs in July or something
after the game comes out
after the game, right after the game comes out, which we saw our first ounce of marketing on it 2 days ago.
with just a picture
Yeah, and then
and it said May 21st. That's
they
it.
tweeted that from this day on, overseas we'll be doing promotions like in Europe daily. Okay, I, I mean, I don't know what direction they're trying to go with this. You can't even say it's like the "what have you done for me lately" thing,
No.
because if that was the case, Tango would still be there, and the makers of Redfall would have been gone six
Yeah.
months ago. It just they spent what 60 some billion
669 for Activision
for
Blizzard King.
Activision,
This is
and
this is
it just
turning
doesn't make
out
sense.
it's turning out to be the stupidest decision. I like if Phil was given the keys and given the money to go do it, and he got it done, right? And we're all like, okay, this is their path is Game Pass.
Yeah,
They want it doesn't matter if they put Call of Duty on all platforms, right? But it looked like the goal was, hey, why do you want to spend $70 on a game where you can just get Game Pass and play it everywhere?
and get it day
So you
one.
right and get it day one. So you think that this is a Game Pass play, right?
Hmm.
Let's keep bolstering our studios. Let's keep bolstering the titles. And then it's like, oh no, we just gave you 70 billion. I'm Satya Nadella, and now this is
Now go make it back.
this is my Xbox now. This is
Yeah,
not Phil. You work for me, but you're working
right.
for me. This is my I got the keys to the car now. And it just feels so corporate and it feels so
Oh,
like
it's
I mean
yeah,
I
and
mean
that's where I'm on like the fence with the whole Phil situation, and even Sarah Mon is getting an unfair rep
killed.
about this.
Killed
Like truthfully, she
justifiably.
has nothing to do with this. I get it. She's the COO, whatever she is,
A president of Xbox now.
president of Xbox. But it's
Yeah.
like you could tell she had no idea this was coming.
No, it had to have passed her desk. But
I hope so.
I mean, the interview that she gave with Bloomberg though was just so bad. She
She
just
shouldn't
said
have been out
nothing.
there for that. She wasn't prepped for it.
But how can you not be prepped? It just that's basically the whole story of Xbox since Xbox One came out.
Xbox
You are
One,
not
yeah,
prepped. Since 2013, you are not prepped. That's their what will be said on their gravestone, right?
yeah.
Like on their tombstone, he'll say, "We were not prepped." It they're just so they're so forward thinking, but then they're so behind that it's just like, what are you
What are you
doing?
doing? Yeah, and it's like this acquisition, and you can keep buying studios, not even just Activision, everything in general, Bethesda, da 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 da. It's like they're just buying it to say they have it, and then they're gonna hold it hostage. Like that's what it feels like. I mean, we're on what, 3 years now, 4 years now of them having big time studios. I mean, Activision obviously is recent,
Yeah,
but
I mean, but they've had Bethesda for 2 or 3 years now,
and what have we gotten? Starfield? What
which was
else?
already in develop. To be fair, it was already in
That was right.
development
Yeah,
before. It
that
was
was
already in development. Um, Deathloop came out, which my game of the year at that year. But again, that came out on PlayStation 5. It was an
it
exclusive for
wasn't even an
PS5.
exclusive, yeah, for them for Xbox.
PS5, right? I mean, we got Redfall, which is ugh. We're getting Indiana Jones, but that's probably going to be going everywhere,
Yeah,
right? Um,
I mean,
I mean,
they're gonna die on, and I've said it since 2020 and before. They're gonna die on the hill of Gears, Halo, and Forza. They that's what they bank on, and I don't get why
and
you buy all these studios for those to be your top three 20 years later.
not even Forza Motorsport anymore because that
Motorsport
underperformed,
tanked, yeah,
right? It's
but
Horizon.
it won racing game of the year.
I mean, Horizon is their
Horizon's their bread and butter,
that's
yeah,
their bread and butter, and that's the one everyone wants to play because that's the easiest barrier of entry.
right.
That's the most arcadey. It's the most fun out of all of them,
But
right?
it just it amazes me that they are so like trigger happy to buy everything and then fire everything and
I mean,
then expect everybody to be happy.
yeah, it made sense to buy Bethesda, right? I mean,
Oh
like,
yeah,
I mean, when you compare Activision of 69 billion compared to Bethesda being seven, like
7.
7 billion is a lot of money. But in the grand scheme of it, it's like, listen, you should have just had Bethesda, you should have had your core studios, and you could
Yeah.
have gone from there. And we saw, right, like with Redfall, Xbox could have meddled. Phil could have meddled
Hmm.
and been like, we need to just pull the plug on this,
Yeah, just
right?
end it.
But they're like, no, 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 you know what? We're not going to
We
do
got to push
anything.
something out.
We're
Yeah.
not going to do anything, and you guys are going to release this terrible game. But then in like the Starfield thing, Phil did meddle, I guess, and he's like, give us whatever resources you need, right? And now that they got Activision, Blizzard, and King, it's like it feels like they need to get involved more, but
They
now
should.
they've spread themselves so thin that they
Hmm.
cannot,
Hmm.
right? And they were always promising, we want to give creative freedom to all these studios. We want to bring them into our family and not have them worry about studios closing, and they're able to have creative freedom and do the games that they want to do. But that's not
It's
true
not the case anymore. No.
whatsoever anymore. It doesn't, it's just, it's like I feel so bad because like I'm so excited for games to come out,
Oh
and
yeah.
Xbox's presentations are usually awesome in the summer, but like I'm going to be going into this June being like, all right, here's just more games that I'm not going to play, and after these games come out, is this studio going to close?
Yeah. I
That's where I'm
mean,
at.
I don't know. I know the second they show the Gear 6 trailer or teaser, whatever, I'll be like, "Oh my God, I'm so excited in my head." But then I'll
Yeah.
be like, "It's coming in 2 years. I'm gonna be
Yeah, probably.
33 in 2 years." Like, I don't own Game Pass. I never will own Game Pass. I just buy games I want to play. I don't have time to go on a back catalog of games on Game Pass. If I did, yeah, absolutely, I'd be a Game Pass owner. But I, I don't know what they plan on dropping at a consistent rate after spending $70 billion, and then you're still waiting 5 years for Halo, every 2 years for a Forza. No, not even every 2 years. No, it's like every 3.5 to 4 for Horizon, and then Motorsport is just whenever,
Yeah.
and then Gears is every one was Gears 5 4 years ago,
20, I know, yeah, I think
2019.
twenty
Was it
eighteen or
18?
I think it's 2018
So 6 years,
whenever,
right? 19, 20, 21,
yeah,
22,
because I think I
23,
played it
24.
when I got the Xbox One X and then I played it. So I think it
Gears
was
5.
2018. Yeah. I think
Yeah, that
Gears
sounds
5
right.
was,
That
yeah.
is right. So, I mean, I feel like the future is indie
No,
games.
you're right. September 10 of 2019. It came out in
2019.
2019. So it's been It's almost five
5
years.
years, and we don't even have an announcement for the next one. And
Mm-mm.
usually, with how games work for both PlayStation and Xbox, they announce something, and 2 years goes by, and then there's a 6 months delay after those 2 years,
Yeah.
and then it drops. So, I mean, I don't know how you can spend 70 billion, fire studios, and then say we have all these games coming. I mean, they're gonna really have. Do you think they just walk around it during the showcase, or do they make a statement? They haven't even
No,
made a statement yet
for what?
for like, I don't know, like some PR. We're fine. We have great games coming out with the
Oh,
studios that we have.
I don't think, yeah, I mean, I think that they're just waiting for their showcase. I don't think they're going to even make a statement. They're just going to say, hey, look here, look what we have
They think
coming.
the showcase is gonna make people forget.
Yeah, I mean, because that's going to be the shiny toy, right? Like
Yeah,
everyone, like that's what, unfortunately, like studios closing at this point, like you said earlier, it's just a normal occurrence across the board that it's not even shocking anymore. It's just, we just go numb, right?
yeah,
We're just like, oh, okay, again. That's it. It's just, oh, okay, again.
and
That's
like
where we're at.
we both have a heavy gaming Twitter feed, but like you'll see like these devs like tweet about it, and it's just heartbreaking. Like
Yeah.
because they're like spent 5 years working on a game that was a potential game of the year, but guess it's not good enough, and then post all the awards that they won for it. I just don't. Again, PlayStation is not you know
No,
innocent in this either.
no,
Rob was saying,
they just closed
yeah,
studios
they just
too.
did today,
Yeah, or earlier or whatever. Like
sometime this week.
there was that post where Jim Ryan went to the one of the European studios,
Yep,
and then a week later they
they
closed.
closed it. Yeah, so it's
It's
like
like, what is that?
it's the typical pizza party, but we're firing you next week.
Yeah,
And I think Xbox needs to. Again, Phil. I don't know where I stand with if he needs to be if he's not the guy to be doing the promo anymore. Um, but I think Rob was saying this. I think you said it. Greg said it as well. Sony and Nintendo both don't say anything. They just
they
they
learned.
say it when the trailer is ready and it goes, unless it leaks.
Nothing
Xbox
to say.
needs to stop putting people up on stages, whether it's Phil, whether it's Sarah, whether it's anybody, and showing this Marvel-esque timeline of every studio we bought, everything they're working on, or the question mark, but they're working on something and putting a year on the bottom. I think those need to stop. I mean, the bar is really low for Xbox right now.
It's really low. All they have to
And
do is, but all they have to do is put out games. That's all they have to do. It's just put out games. They don't have to say anything anymore. They don't have to do anything. They just have to put
yeah,
out games. That's
they
all
don't
they
have
have
to
to
say
do.
anything. And I think the problem is their biggest hitting games, minus the studio they just closed, are games that only come around every 5 to 6 years,
Yeah,
and you can't live off that anymore. I don't know why again. I've said this 10 times in 20 minutes. You spent $70 billion. Your bread and butter can't be Halo Infinite, can't be Gear
right.
Six,
But
can't be Forza anymore.
at that point though, because they own so many studios, they should be able to get away with their big studios coming out with the game every 6 years, right? Because
Oh yeah,
because they
there
should
should be
have a
stuff that
game
holds you
every
over.
there should be a game that comes out every quarter. It doesn't have to
Yes,
be a AAA game, right?
correct.
Like a AAA game can still take 6 years to make.
Right.
But if let's just say 6 years, right? You multiply that by four, you have more than 24 studios, right? You should be able to have one game. If every studio gets 6 years to make a game, every studio can take 6 years to make a game and you can still have four games
Four
every
games a
year
year.
that are first party. Like they have that many studios that they can do that.
But I
Yet,
think with the name and the caliber of the studios that they've acquired, people are expecting big games. And I think it's an unfair shot to them because
sure,
the average gamer doesn't realize that there's a lot more of these studios that they acquired that do the indie type, smaller
sure,
6 to 10 hour games.
yeah,
But a lot of those 6 to 10 hour games, indie games, are the best games you'll see in that year
Yeah, it's the
that
reason
nobody knows
Hellblade.
about.
Right. It's the reason why Hellblade 2 can be super anticipated, even though the first game was six
Under
to
the
eight hours,
radar. Yeah.
right? But it was 6 to 8 hours, and they're like, "Oh, we're
Right.
making the same thing." And other people are like 6 to 8 hours, but other people are like, "Great, let's
Let's
go. Just have
knock
it
it out.
focused, make it look amazing, and
Yeah.
you're good." So they can do it, right? Like it's just,
They
yeah,
have the teams. They have everything they need.
they have the number of teams,
But the suits
absolutely.
are now more concerned with how much money are we going to make
Yeah.
back and how quickly can we do it? And
Oh,
that's going to hurt the quality of the game.
let me step back for a second too. Is if because Call of Duty comes out basically every year,
Yeah.
right? So
Minus the
let
1 year,
right, right,
the
right.
2 year,
So
or
let's just
whatever.
say that it's going to still be every year. I think it might be every 2 years, but whatever. Let's just for the exercise, let's just say it's every year. And if that's one of your four big games, because you have a three studios that are going, you only need if Call of Duty is just one game that comes out every year, you really only need your studios to other studios to put out three games per year.
Math is easy. Math is just simple.
And then
I,
and at that point, you can take 7 years for
you could take even
21
longer.
studios. 21 studios could take 7 years each to put out a game, and you still have one game uh,
Yeah. One
every
game every
every
gen
quarter,
or every
right?
quarter. Yeah.
Every quarter.
One big
You
game
could have
every gen, though.
right. Exactly.
I,
It, it
I don't know what the future of Xbox, or as everybody is referring to it, as Microsoft gaming, which is horrific because
but that's
that
what it is.
was, that they built this Xbox brand from nothing in since what 1998 they announced the Xbox, or 99, whatever.
2001?
Was it
2001?
2001? God, we're
Yeah, I
old.
thought it was 2001. I'm older
And
than you.
yeah,
Um,
you are, but you look younger.
that's because I'm Indian. Um,
Um, I I just I feel for the OGs of Xbox, but I also think a lot of the OGs, not even the fans, like the people that worked with Xbox, are kind of laughing it up like we told you so. Like
it,
it turned into corporate greed, which why wouldn't it be? They're trying to maximize every dollar they can make.
yeah, they
That's
have
corporate
shareholders,
America. Yeah,
right?
they have people they need to impress with figures.
Yep.
Get it. But they've done all of the promoting of we're doing this for the best interest of our gamers and our fans.
Not anymore.
And it doesn't feel like that anymore. It
Mm-mm.
feels like the lip service that I personally think that they were spewing for the last 4 years is just finally coming to light. And I think it just got out of hand, and now they're going to need to figure this out. And that's why I think a Gears is going to happen a lot quicker than we anticipate, because they need us to forget about all of this. And they're going to be like, this is why you think Xbox is the greatest, because you remember how great Gears of War was.
Yeah.
But 5 did horrible at launch. Infinite had a horrible launch.
Oh,
Forza
no.
Motorsport had a bad launch.
No, Halo had a really good launch, actually. Halo Infinite, dude, everyone was talking about Halo Infinite. That
That's true.
multiplayer coming
Yeah.
out for
No, I
free.
take that back. You're correct. You're correct. It was
Dude,
on Steam.
you and
Everybody
I
was
spent,
playing.
you and I
Yeah.
spent money on skins, and we were like, "Oh, this is going to be fun for 3 weeks," but
For
it
three,
was really
and it
fun for
was
3 weeks.
fun
You know what
for
I mean?
3 weeks.
It's
Yeah.
their fault they didn't support it, but I thought Halo Infinite's launch was actually really
That's
great.
true. That
I
is
thought it was
true.
really
I'll
great.
take that one back. And it's
Now,
picked back up
yeah.
again though, which is
Yeah, because
crazy.
they supported it, but
Yeah.
for a year they did nothing, and everyone's like, "What are you doing?" Even 6 months later, they did nothing, and it's like, "What are you doing? You're losing all of your people,
That's why I
right?"
don't
It's
trust the live service like stuff with games, but that's for another time.
yeah,
I just think Xbox has lost their way and their roots of what they once were. And that's not just saying because of what's happened in the last week or the last year. I think midway through the Xbox One, we realized that they were losing ground.
yeah.
And they knew it too. They admitted they lost that gen.
Oh, for
Um,
sure.
but I don't know. I don't know what they can do anymore. They've bought everything in the world. It's like you
Yeah,
said, they just have to release games and they have to be
and
quality.
And they actually just took a huge win today with Square Enix saying that they're just going to
Yes,
do
I
multiplat
think
right
that's a win
now.
for everybody.
That's a huge
I
win
think
for
everything should
everybody.
just be multi-plat. Fuck it at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bring
But
The
I mean,
Last of Us to Xbox.
yeah, I mean, it's a huge win for Xbox that they're going to be able to get Final Fantasy games, but it just shows like the Xbox cannot do the exclusive route. They have to go
No,
multi-plat
yeah.
because like Square Enix is like, hey, we took money from Sony and it still didn't work out for us.
Well, what they
And
lost like what was the number? Like 17 million or something? It was some with
yeah,
a seven.
it was a huge
It was
amount
a
of
big
money.
money. Yeah, from
Yeah.
16 and Rebirth, they didn't make them like even a quarter of what they thought they were anticipating to make from the two games.
Yeah, it was a big loss that they just lost. I I don't have the number in front of me. I'm sorry. But like even now, like Square Enix, like no, we're not gonna. We need to put go everywhere because that's the only way we can do money, right?
Yeah.
And they even sold off stuff, so like everyone is dying in
I
this
mean, we're gonna
after
see
COVID.
more layoffs. We're gonna see all
Yep.
that, but I think it's just Xbox is always the punching bag. Microsoft, they're the punching bag.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. People have been calling out Jeff Keighley because he didn't report the whole Helldivers thing, but then he was so quick to talk about the Microsoft thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, I get that. It's kind of, I mean, it's fake. Yeah, you are so heavy to report one thing and not the other. But there is a favoritism to all these big people and who they cover and what they get for free and da 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 da. But at the end of the day, I think Xbox is just I think they're on, and I hate to say this, I think they're like a one or two gens away from being done with hardware if this
Yeah.
continues.
I mean, I think they've promised next gen because they're already gonna work. They're already working
Right.
on it, and they've already said it's coming. But I mean, yeah.
I don't see
After
anything
next
after
gen,
that. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if they're multi-plat, they're just Sega, right? Like that's
Right.
what we're looking at a more powerful, more successful Sega, I suppose, right? Like
Yeah.
that's kind
And
of
you
what
might
they're
get a
leaning
cloud
towards.
box or something, whatever that
Yeah.
rumor is. I mean, you
Or
obviously
yeah.
PCs will be around forever, so they're just
Yeah.
going to become another Steam, another
And
launcher
with like the Rogue Ally and with like
with the handheld. Yeah,
the
we're going back to
MSI, right?
handhelds.
Everything's going to be, but I mean, if you can, as long as you can get the Xbox app native on there, like
It'll be good. It's
it's it
just
for them.
weird
Yeah,
to think that because again, we've been around for almost all the consoles.
yeah,
You have almost, I think, all have seen all of them.
yeah,
We're at the era of seeing the big three, and one of them is very close to not making hardware anymore.
right.
The second one being Sony could probably make one huge mistake, and PS6 or 7 would be their last. And I think Nintendo just is happy where they are. They make millions and millions and millions of dollars, maybe billions, and they're like,
They stay in their lane.
yeah, if we want to release another Switch or something after
Yeah,
the Switch 2, we will, but
yeah,
we don't have to.
nope. And
So,
they'll just deny the existence, even though it's like
yeah,
created and made. They just
yeah,
they just do their decisions. They
they're
make
not
their
worried about that fight for top
no,
dog because they
they don't
know they're
care.
good.
Yep.
They don't care about, graphics. They don't care about performance a la
Mm-mm.
Pokemon.
Yeah.
They
They just
they know people are going to buy it.
yep.
And
I mean,
good for them. I mean, that's how
when
businesses are.
you have Mario, when you have Super Nintendo World, when you have, when you have the market of, just big
Pokemon,
names,
everything.
you don't
Yeah.
need to do anything.
You don't
You
need to
just
do anything.
no, just make sure your first party games, not even Pokemon, I'm just talking about like make sure your Zelda, make
Oh,
sure your
yeah. Zelda
Mario, make
Mario,
sure your Metroid,
Nintendo.
just make sure they're all clean, they all work, and you're successful.
You
It's
do
just
a
eh,
direct for
eh,
25 minutes once every 6 months.
yeah, and get an Animal Crossing during
Yeah.
COVID, and you're amazing.
Yeah. God. That had everybody in a chokehold.
Yeah, for
The
sure.
final thoughts on Xbox. What would you like to see, or where do you think with the upcoming news is it gloom and doom for Xbox until something, or are they just
Yeah,
down bad for the rest of the time?
yeah. I mean, I think it's just. I mean, not the rest of the time. Anything can happen, right? But
Right.
if we've been saying this since 2020, you have to show me something, right?
Yep. That's been our
And
motto
and
for it. Show me.
and all the goodwill You talked about this earlier where they just Phil and Sarah they'll talk, right? But we don't need to see them anymore. It's put up or
Yeah,
shut up,
show me
right?
the games. I
And
don't even
if
want to see you anymore.
yeah, and it's just sad. It's a sad state of affairs.
Yeah.
And I'm just I love I prefer Xbox as my
Yeah. Oh yeah.
box of choice. I like my Game Pass subscription. I've used it for games that came out. It's just a sad state of affairs, and it's this is the kind of conversations that we want to have, but we don't want to have
We
at the
don't
same
want to
time.
have, right.
Like I want to talk about games, but this is what we're talking
This
about.
is the reality of gaming, now we talk more about the bad things that are happening because we get one good game every 5 years.
Yeah,
And that's from both ends. That's again, this is not a one-sided story.
yeah,
Sony is not innocent in all this either, but no, I'm with the meat on this. I personally think Xbox needs to just put up and shut up, but we won't know until the showcase. I mean, they need to really really hit the head with the showcase and show like multiple games, and those games need to be coming no later than holiday 2025, honestly.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but I mean, I'm gonna let you close this one out. Um, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
say shout out Rob and Greg. I know everybody's busy, but me and me took the time tonight. Amit's gonna take that wasn't a parting shot, Amit. Don't laugh. Amit is gonna take us into the sunset, so Amit, take it away.
All right. Well, we're the way better NPCs, half of us,
Half of
and
us, a half better.
we are we are in a somber mood here, but hopefully great things are on the horizon because GTA 6 is coming. So,
Bang.
boom,
Inside scoop.
boom.
All right, Amit. I will talk to you soon, and I'll
Later.
see you on the next one.
All right, later, bye.
Peace.